Good evening to those who are joining us from Juba and East Africa, and good afternoon or good morning to those who are watching from different time zones. My name is Margaret Matthew Mathiang. I'll be the moderator of this session. And I would like to welcome you all to this 76th session of the South Sudanese Women South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum, which brings together five powerful leaders of South Sudanese women-led organization, whom you'll get to know better later in this discussion. Today's session is titled Women's-Led Organization, Challenges and Opportunities. It's a very important topic as our country moves from recovery to development phase, and as this country of ours is seeing emergence of so many women-led organizations which are doing a great job in South Sudan. Please note that this forum is live streamed on both Facebook and YouTube pages of South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum. And thank you to our viewers who have joined us already. Feel free to drop some comments and questions as the discussion goes on, and we will try our level best to answer some of them during this session if time allows. As you all know, there is a growing interest and commitment by a number of institutions, both local and international, to invest in women-led crisis response and gender equality programming as key to effective and sustainable solution. There is also a growing interest in understanding challenges that are facing women-led organizations in South Sudan. In so many times, we will see that a very powerful organization is active for a year or two, and then it drops. And we want to understand why, because there are so many reasons that can lead to that. We have also seen many questions from other partners who also are interested to know how can they strengthen these organizations. To help us unfold these challenges facing women-led organizations in South Sudan, we are privileged to have with us 5 distinguished panel members who are powerful South Sudanese women who are doing great job in South Sudan. And they will take us through these challenges that they are facing and the opportunities that they think can help them to strengthen the organizations. There are only 5 panelists now, but South Sudan has a number of powerful women-led organizations, not only in post-independence time, but even before the independence. We have heard of South Sudanese Women Association in Nairobi, in Kenya. We have heard of South Sudanese Women Voice for Peace. We have heard of so many other women movements. And in our current time, there are so many other names that are so familiar to most of us. So today, we are privileged to have among us our first panelist, who is Madam Zahra Said Ali, who is known as Mama Sunde. Mama Sunde is an activist and a founder of several civil society networks in South Sudan. She is also a member of some regional networks such as FEM and East and Horn of Africa Human Rights Defenders. She's also a member of Committee on East African Integration. Mama Zahra traveled along the continent internationally, championing for the right of women and children. She has rich experience working with women at the grassroots level to the parliamentary level. She mentioned in one of her quotes that she just wants to work with women, whether they're in higher offices or there are women who are in the grassroots. So, and she also enjoys working a lot in the grassroots level, where she said all the leaders are born. Some of her achievement as a mentor includes mentoring about 30 women, young women who are now working in different institutions. Congratulations, Mama Zahra, for that. Mama Zahra Ali, she's a holder of a bachelor degree from University of Nairobi. She has a diploma in social work and community development, and obtained a number of professional certificates from different institutions, which includes the Electoral Monitoring Body, Kofi Annan Institute of Peacekeeping, Women, Peace and Security. She also has a certificate in mentorship program and many others. So Mama Zahra, we are very much happy to have you among us today. Maybe say hi or wave to the audience so that they can see you. Thank you. Our second panelist is Ms. Modi Inosa Barasa. She is the executive director and founder of an NGO called Young Women Christian Association, which is an affiliate to the International Non Young Women Christian Association. So Ms. Modi started this organization first as a community-based women group, and it has extended, and it has now 7 branches within South Sudan, and 1 branch is actually in Uganda, also in the refugee settlement camp. The organization has contributed to empowerment of women in many ways and development in general. To mention a few, Young Women Christian Association South Sudan has contributed to a number of capacity building training, social support to communities in need, constructions of school, health and health facilities. It also has scholarship programs where a number of women obtain certificates through these scholarships. And then it contributes not only in Western Equatorial State, but the whole of South Sudan, with branches in Wau, Taurid, among others. YWCA contribute also to creation of a pool of productive and reasonable youth and women leaders who are now contributing positively to their communities and country development in various sectors. Ms. Modi is the South Sudanese Women Award for Peace winner of Humanitarian Service Award, and she devoted herself to serve the people of South Sudan, and we recognize you as a humanitarian champion as well in this forum, as we are lucky to have you. Kindly wave to the audience. Yeah, there is Modi Inosa, our humanitarian champion. I'm also happy to introduce Ms. Ari Susan, who is a development practitioner with over 14 years of experience supporting and managing non-governmental organization and civil society development programs in South Sudan in the areas of peace building, access to justice, WASH, education, women's voice, HIV, prevention, among other key areas. She is also familiar with several donors' policies, and we are lucky to have somebody who is familiar with donor policies here, notably USAID, Canada Foreign Aid, Commonwealth, all these big organizations. We have Aya Susan with us today, who is familiar with all this. She worked closely with local government institutions, different ministries, such as the Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and South Sudan Peace Commission. She also worked with a number of organizations that include CARE, Democracy International, PAC Sudan, and she also served as an independent consultant with Mexico and other organizations also. Ms. Ari holds a bachelor's degree in democracy and development studies from Uganda Matthias University, and a diploma in social development from Uganda Catholic Social Training Center. And she's happy to be. We are very happy for you to be among us because you are also a champion for gender equality. Kindly say hello, wave to the audience who are with us if you are here. Oh, so yeah, there is our Susan. You are highly welcome. And then we have our sister Rose Ashendel. And Rose is a peace activist. She's always in those spaces where women talk about participation in peace issues. She's also a mediator. She's an entrepreneur. She's a peace mobilizer. She's a conflict resolution negotiator. Rose is also an executive director of a powerful organization called Legacy for African Women and Children Initiative. So, Rose, a quick hello to the audience. There is Rose. Thank you for joining us. We are together in this. Then we have Christine Joseph. She is having some issues with the internet connectivity, but I'm sure she'll join us. She is the executive director for Wake Up Women Development Association. Check this name, Wake Up Women Development Association. And this association promotes community health well-being, livelihood, empowerment, numeracy, literacy education to women, good governance, affirmative action, agribusiness, sustainable environmental management, and land ownership advocacy for women. issues of land are very important, and it's very impressive to see women who also engaging in issues of land ownership. Christine is also passionate about gender-based violence issues. She's motivated by her own experience as somebody who got married as a child, and then she's determined to lead the fight against domestic violence. She championed the reunification of children born out of rape with their families. She also participated in reintegration of children associated with armed groups into the communities and sensitized community members into social acceptance and reconciliation with these children. She holds a diploma and bachelor's degree in one of the development fields. She said she fought hard to go back to school, telling the women that even if you go through challenges, it's not too late to go to school. So she went to school despite all these challenges. She managed to finish her education, and she now works with the World Vision, and she worked also before with World Vision and other faith-based organizations. She has a long CV, but let me stop at that. I will also want to thank in the background our sister who is the founder of this important organization, South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum, Aisha, on the background. We are saying thank you so much for this important step in bringing South Sudanese women together, not only those who are within South Sudan, but also those who are in the diaspora. We really appreciate that and acknowledge your efforts. So to move forward, and as mentioned earlier, today's topic is about women-led organizations. We are looking at challenges and opportunities, and we are now heading to our interaction session with the panelists. And for the panelists, please do not forget to unmute your mics when presenting. I'm also going to give each one of you about 3 to 4 minutes, at least, to answer each question. And I would like to start with our mama, which is Mama Zahra. Mama Zahra, when I was reading your profile, you are somebody who has contributed a lot in in the initiation of many organizations or initiatives. So based on your experience as a founding member of many civil society organizations, can you kindly tell us whether most of these women-led organizations are serving their purpose in service delivery? Over to you, Mama Zahra. This is a question, let me repeat it again. Based on experiences as a founding member of many civil society organizations, can you kindly tell us whether most of these women-led organizations are serving their purpose in service delivery?
Yeah.
Over to you, Mama Zahra.
Yeah, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone all around the globe. Thank you very much for South Sudan Women Intellectual Forum for bringing us together so that we can share. Well, we had so many organizations. Some of the organizations are still functioning and some are not functioning. I can say why. Some of the organizations which were formed were social organizations, like they want to socialize, to bring men together, just for a purpose of coming up together, maybe for small merry-go-rounds, or for buying, or for education purposes. Others were just for fun, we just want to form an organization, we collect money, we go to Kampala, we go to Dubai, we go where and we do business. And some organizations were found purposely for funding and to help the community. And most of these organizations that have been founded for helping the grassroots women, some of the organizations are still there and some have diminished. Reason being is not known to me, but we have tried to find out why are these organizations not functioning anymore. Most of these women-led organizations, some of the women, as you know, the standard of our women is low. Most of them have been taken into the government job. Some joined civil servants, some joined politics, and just left the organizations like that. Whoever they brought to take over the organizations could not carry the organizations forward. Others, sorry to say so, I know most of the women will be annoyed with me. Some are briefcase organizations. Some just, as I said, for funding, they just form, they register, they contribute the money, they register organizations. But when we are mapping out organizations, we don't see them. An example is that when we were looking for, sometimes back for women-led organizations, to champion the women-led organizations for the issue of women participation on constitution-making processes, all the list of the women organizations, just a few they got it within Juba and within the whole country. So I've been wondering, where are these organizations? Where are the leaders? Some leaders you see there, but you don't see organizations. But when you call a forum, where is this organization? You see them coming in, and you ask, what are your activities? You don't see the activities that is done. So that is one of the things that I've seen after forming so many organizations, so many networks in South Sudan. The latest that was formed that got disappeared in the middle was during the peace process. We had so many women organizations. That was good. It was a good move, a good motive from their heart that we want to see peace. The women are the ones suffering. The women are the one, everything coming out is the women. But after the peace is signed, it has all gone down. They are the same people who participated in bringing the peace, but they are the same people who are to come up to implement the peace. But now they are not there. They are left. They have left the organizations which men has taken over. You see, some of these we are overrun by men.
Okay, Mama Zahra, Mama Zahra, before we come into the challenges, I just want to go back again to the same question that I'm asking. So, in your discussion, are you saying that the women-led organization are serving their purpose in service delivery? You mentioned issues of participation in peace building, which is good, and you also mentioned their participation in some of the development initiatives. Any other activities that they have participated in, the positive ones? I know there are a number of challenges, and you mentioned some of them.
Yeah,
You also
like,
entered into, yes, yeah. Can you mention some?
like minimizing. Currently, we have a very strong women organization in Lake State. They are fighting against early child and forced marriages.
Okay.
They're fighting SGBVs, and they're also cooperating with the police, working together with the police in the SPUs to see who has been forcefully married. In the recent past, we have seen there are several girls who have committed suicide in Lake State. They have taken their lives away for forced marriages. So these women came out and said, no, enough is enough. These are our girls. We have to come up strongly and stop this. So this is a positive change that we are seeing in the communities.
Yeah, I also heard you mentioning that yes, there are some organizations which are briefcase organization. In simple word, can you describe what a briefcase organization is, just for our viewers?
Yeah, a briefcase organization is an organization that has been registered, but it is not existing. When you follow it up, what are the activities? You don't see it. You don't meet even the executive director or the staff in the field. As I work, I move a lot in the field, in the whole corners of South Sudan, and I have so many activities that I'm doing. And in every state, there are several activities. The activities I'm doing, I'm targeting women-led organizations. In my list, when I communicate, I call this number, the number is off. Or when I go, I ask this organization, I just see the signpost and the organization is non-existent.
Okay, so thank you very much for this, highlighting this. And at the end, when we are doing recommendations, I would also like to hear your recommendation on how to change this briefcase organization into active organizations, because you don't know what challenges they are facing until they are just a briefcase organization and they're not functioning, despite the fact that they registered. So we move to our second panelist, who is Ms. Modi Baraza. And we would like to hear from you, Ms. Modi. If you can kindly tell us how you have been able to establish your organization to the level it has reached right now. Can you tell us more about also the activities that you do and so forth?
Thank you so much, and hi to everyone and all our listeners. I would like to talk about Young Women Christian Association. The organization was formed actually way back in 1997 with few young women who are experiencing a lot of challenges during war, and then they came together and formed this organization. Since its formation, young women have been striving in order to empower young women to have leadership roles and activities. The question that is stated, like, how has it come to this level now where it is? What I would like to say is, like, it is a commitment and sacrifice. It cost everything regarding how you have to be, you have to make sure that this organization move forward. Since its formation, our first area of concentration was like, what is our vision as Young Women Christian Association? Where are we going? And then how do we need to see the women in the future? So, and then we look at our vision, like, we need to look at a society where the human rights of women and girls, care for the environment are promoted, protected, and sustained through women's leadership. So that was the vision we had from initial stage when we started the organization. And then since its formation, we started incorporating, remember we started with only 25 young women. And then now we start incorporating other women organization, other women and then young women there. And then this organization have been there. And then our main power is always on our membership. We make sure that the membership of young women and the representation of all women is very important. And then we consider our members as a priority in all what we are doing. So saying this one now, that we have reached like a membership of over 2,500 members in all our branches. Like we have 7 branches currently. We've already opened 1 branch in Kapoita, that is in Eastern Equatoria. We have branches in Tumbura, Nzara, Yambio, Meridi, Mundri, Juba, Wow, and then now Kapoita. So now our strength depends on our kind of membership. And then this membership are the ones now who are the basic founder and then the basic contributor towards the success of what we are doing as Young Women Christian Association. And then also, if you look at how did we come successful, we always consider the governance of the organization. And then when we are talking about the governance of that organization, it's like how the general membership, and then now we always organize every 4 years a national convention whereby people come together and then elect the board. And then the board are the decision maker and then the policy makers for the organization. So these are the kinds of things that we do in order to make the organization to become self-sustained and whatever, and then become strong. And then also we have developed policies that guides us in everything that we are doing. For instance, we have the finance policy in place. We have the human resource policy. We have the recruitment procedures like the HR policy. We have all the other policies like volunteer policy, because we work with the young women and then women who are coming from fresh from school, like young women who are coming fresh from school. We engage them in order to let them learn how to do work, and then from there they can go now to the labor market. So these are the things that we do as Young Women Christian Association. And then using our volunteer policy, we make sure that women are given priority. And in the structure of Young Women Christian Association, like the governance, it's purely women. And then we make sure that the decisions are being taken by women. So that means the president, we call them the president, that is the chair of the board, and then the treasurer, the information and the youth representative, and all people have to be women. And then also in the management, we have the top management is comprised actually of women all, but we actually hire men in some areas like technical work that we do. So this question now is telling us that this organization is actually established, and then it's like a membership base, and then governance is in place, and then membership actually make sure that they contribute positively to the sustainability of the organization. Basically, because I'm just going towards the question that was asked, that we have reached this level. That is how we have been maintaining Young Women Christian Association, so that they can be able to run the organization. Now you ask about activities that we have been. We have several activities. First activities that we focus on is the psychosocial support and trauma healing and counseling. This one, we know that we are living in a one-third country, and then people are traumatized. Actually, as I'm talking with, there's a refresher training going on now for all our counselors in all our branches. So now that is one of our strengths. Secondly, we have peace building and peacemaker component, whereby we mobilize young people and then to say no to war and impress peace among the community through composing of songs, and then organizing a football tournament in the name of peace, and then other things. And then thirdly, we have economic empowerment, whereby we train community members to do their own savings and investment. Through this program, we always go to the community and train them and form them into savings and investment group, and then they contribute their own money, because there's no microfinance institution locally that we can borrow money from. So those people who contribute their money within the group, those ones who are vulnerable, so they borrow money from the savings and they start up a business, and then from that business, after completing, and then they return the money to the groups with a 10% interest. Thirdly, we have a SRHR, that is sexual reproductive health and the rights component, whereby we are training young women so that they can be able to protect themselves when they are going to school. If you see the rate of school dropout now in South Sudan, it's very high for young women, which of course includes even the forced marriage and other things. But now YWCA is going out there and then train young women in how to say no, and then observe their rights. And also we have organized like dialogue between community and then the parents, so that they can talk about these issues affecting young women. Another program is education. We established a very big school in Meridi branch, which of course is from nursery up to standard 8. And then in 2019, our first batch student became the best in Western Equatoria. Thirdly, we have governance program, whereby we organize issues to do with like organizing women peace and security, and telling, and then advocating for the rights of women, and then also advocating for policy change, especially related to young women. You know that young women have shrinking space at all level, even in the government. Even if opportunity are given to women, young women are not given that opportunity. So we make sure that we lobby and they advocate for the rights of young women, so that they can be involved. Another component is like gender equality, whereby we mentor and train young women so that they can assume their responsibility at all levels. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Modi Inosa, for sharing your experiences with us. They are very rich experiences, and one of the important things that I that does not want to leave my mind from your presentation is the fact that it's what you mentioned, that it's important for an organization to be vision led, and maybe some of the organizations that drop, maybe they drop because their vision is not clear. Also, we are congratulating you because your organization is expanding. Now, you mentioned that you have a number of organizations that are, number of branches. You talked of the Maridi branch and other branches, and you talked about very important programs that your organization is doing, which are all transformative. You talk of trauma counseling. Our country is very traumatized, and of course, having intervention in the area of trauma awareness is a transformative approach. And also peace building, which is necessary. Economic empowerment, very much needed. And sexual reproductive health issues, very much needed. So I congratulate you and your team for the great work that you're doing for the people of South Sudan. I want to move to our third panelist, Ariye Susan. Sorry if I did not pronounce your name well, But Ms. Susan, can you tell us what has been your experiences managing organizations, including local organizations in South Sudan? For the viewers, Susan, as I mentioned earlier, somebody who is familiar with donor policies and so forth, and she has experience managing organizations. So, Ms. Susan, can you kindly tell us your experience in managing these organizations in South Sudan?
Okay, thank you so much, Margaret, for giving me this opportunity. Hi, everyone, our listeners. Also, I want to appreciate Aisha and her leadership for really creating this important forum to create a space for us to speak. In terms of my experience in the management of NGO and women-led organization, I had an opportunity through the engagement with the women-led and the general civil society organization over the years. And that has given me an opportunity in terms of understanding the context, in terms of understanding where these organizations are coming from, in terms of what they do, in terms of the service delivery, and also their internal systems, how they function, and also in terms of like bringing on board during selection process, because I happen to be over the years also participating in some of the review or the selection committees. So through this kind of engagement, I got all this opportunity to learn, to understand from the background, and also to walk the journey through in terms of, mentoring, in terms of training, in terms of carrying out intensive or comprehensive capacity, organization capacity assessment, which at the end, of course, leads to an institutional strengthening plan, which sometimes we call the capacity building plan that informs all the intervention, because capacity development is a process. It's not a one-time activity. It's a process that involves understanding the context, where the organization are coming from, where they are in terms of understanding their strength, in terms of also classifying their weaknesses, so that once that is done, you can now come with the intervention and tailor-made on specific needs. And also, through that process, I was able to get the opportunity to understand weaknesses of each and every organization that, for example, I'm positioned to support with different international organizations I've worked for over the years, and even now with the women-led organization. So in terms of planning generally, if each international organization, of course, have a different kind of funding guidelines, and also kind of like support system in terms of ensuring the growth of this organization is achieved. So the most important thing that I really wanted to share as part of my experience is, as I said, in terms of understanding the holistic approach of growth from the nascent to foundational to developing and sustaining level. So the institutional growth is classified under like four specific kind of pillars. So when you come in terms of responding to the specific needs that have been identified, you do the scanning, you analyze, you plan together with this respective organization so that they understand exactly where the problems are, where the weaknesses are, where the strengths lies, and then you tailor-made this specific. And also over the years, I've been able to get this opportunity to engage through practical training and mentoring this specific organization, the women-led, for example, the specific aspect that I can handle. And also we do through outsourcing competent consultants to kind of like direct specific mentorship support in specific field in order to ensure that all the needs that have been identified in this capacity development plan are addressed in a very transparent and participatory manner. And in the process, we kind of like bring on board all these NGOs or the women-led organization to understand where their weaknesses are and walk them through the journey in terms of ensuring that they are able to understand donor funding requirements, they are able to place themselves to better respond to, call for proposals that comes, and they are able to also to ensure that their systems are strengthened in place based on all these issues that have been identified. Because there's no way a support can be provided before a framework is developed. So all these are part of the experiences that I've learned through, and especially through the selection process. We also I get to learn a lot that different organizations have different capacity levels. For example, there are those that are categorized at low capacities. There are those that are categorized at middle average capacities, and there are those also that are categorized at high capacity. And because of that, it enabled the kind of support that is tailor-made to be effectively implemented. And also through the peer-to-peer learning programming, which has worked best. And I think that is also something that everyone can learn from the process. Then, as I said, through the selection process, there are key aspects that I also learned as a person that needs to be considered. For example, what kind of support should be given to a low capacity organization, or average or middle? And in terms of funding, also this kind of assessment results inform also donor intervention in terms of classifying, for example, the type of award that should be given based on the capabilities that the organizations have in place. For example, so that as they grow, they are positioned at that level, and they are transition from each step to step in terms of the institutional growth and also the individual, because all this kind of engagement direct support to individuals that work for this specific organization, and also ensures that the institution grow in terms of system policies and strategies, like monitoring and evaluation frameworks, which are some of the systems that donor look out for, perhaps maybe in the subsequent questions that might come earlier on that we are going to address. So throughout my experiences, I think I got engaged in different areas in terms of hosting these RFAs, in terms of carrying out information sessions to ensure that the applicants are able to go through and position themselves to apply, and also in terms of transition them through the support to ensure that they grow, while as individuals and also as well as organizations.
Thank you very much, Susan. We are very much encouraged to know that South Sudanese women have technical know-how. Having somebody like you who have the technical knowledge of the donors' policies, and also how to strengthen organizations that are emerging, and having skills also in capacity assessment, and also telling us now that some of the organizations are categorized when they are being assessed. We are really happy that South Sudan is not left out in the future, or in the near future, when neighboring countries and others are looking for consultants with such skills. They will also be finding some in South Sudan, and not us always saying that we don't have the capacity and so forth. So I'm really glad that you have highlighted a number of issues that are very important for our national organizations, especially the ones that are led by women. So now we move to our sister Rose Ashendel. Rose, you have been seen in this space. You are a strong voice of South Sudanese women who are here. But we want to hear from you why are women not able to manage their organization properly in South Sudan. Do you think that these organizations are created without objectives? Over to you, Rose. We cannot hear you, Rose.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator, Ms. Margaret Matiang. I'm privileged to have joined my colleagues in this important discussion. Before I quickly go to answer the question, I would want to just give the key areas that Lawansi are doing. Lawansi in full legacy for African Women and Children Initiative, formed in 2018 at the national level, and it is operating up to date. We have key areas, the main key areas that we tackle. The first one is women in peace building. And then the other one is women empowerment, that is women entrepreneurship. And then the other one is gender-based violence, that is custom and norms to end gender-based violence and promote equality. Under the entrepreneurship, we build women for future. So because some of the women, someone might have, a capacity of really dreaming to do something, but because there is no way that she can go about, we always support them in building them. Then the last one is doing the mentorship to the orphans. We support orphans, and then we do mentorship to them, and we support them through education and hygienic health. Just to go quickly to answer the question of asking whether women-led organizations, whether they have objectives or not, I would say women organizations have objectives. Because when we register, the first stage is to have a dream. You dream about something, and then there is always a force, something that, drives you towards achieving something. Then by preparing that, you will now go to action, whereby you will have to consult and register the organization. What I am feeling, to my understanding, is that women-led organizations lack empowerment. When I say this, we intend actually to only depend on international NGOs, forgetting even us locally, we can be able to generate our little profit for us to start up. And I may say, let me give my testimony. When I registered women this Lawan 2018, I have been registering, paying the little space that I have in my pocket. After I was supported by other colleagues of mine, you cannot really remain there. You have to be independent. So I could really renew the registration, because when you don't have a registration, definitely you cannot apply for any funding. Then the other one is perception. We all come from South Sudan community background at our aspect or at our diversity. And the perception that a woman is leading something.
Rose, we cannot hear you. I don't know.
Yeah. Perception that women are perceived as just women. And that's why sometimes when you apply, three of you, women-led organizations and male-led organizations, I am very sure, and the grand manager is a male, he will always check his colleague. Think that it is this male that is having a capacity of actually delivering the services, leaving the woman behind because of the perception. The other one is the ignorance. The ignorance can be contributed even by the owners, especially as women-led organizations. When you ignore something, you can miss out. And I remember someone ignored the Bible, and the Bible is having the key inside. But because of the ignorance, the person missed that key for the car. He was going to own it, but because he ignored, he did not get that. So let us also see, not really to ignore. Let us just push and see how we go about it. And then there's this low thing, self-low thing of saying, I can't do this thing. Okay, if you cannot do it, why do you go and be the activist or the woman support to a male-led organization, or the woman advisor to male-led organization? Those ideas that you have, you support the male-led organization with, are the things that you are supposed to, deal with them in your own organization, and you'll be able to move forward. Briefly, these are the understanding of me on how I feel that women-led organizations have to take it, but only few things that are not given to them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Susan, for the passionate answering of this question. You have talked a lot about the real issues. At the beginning, I've seen most of you are speaking honestly, and that's what is needed, because if you don't talk about the challenges openly, and then we cannot move forward. So thank you so much for being honest in your answers and mentioning some important issues that are happening all the time and which are facing women-led organizations. I don't see our fifth panelist, Christine, online, but then allow me to go back to Mama Sunde, Mama Zahra. Are you there, Mama Zahra? Yes. Yeah, I would like to pose another question to you, Mama Zahra.
Go
And the
ahead.
question is, yes, most of women in South Sudan, they complain about not getting funding. In your opinion, as somebody who has developed a number of initiatives, why do you think might be the problem hindering women from getting funding from the donors?
Yeah, this question has been going round and round and round and round. One is the issue of capacity, as it has been said, but most of us are ignorant. We have been given capacity all this way around, but some, as I said earlier, some who started the organizations left, joined politics, and others are coming up. So those who came after those ones left were not mentored. And I still, in my recommendations, I'll talk about mentorship. The other issue is about when you start an organization and you needed funding, you don't have funding, you have your mission, vision, objectives, and the activities you want to do. This donor or partner will ask you to give a 3-year audit. Give us your 3 past donors and how much was it. So you see, these are the challenges that some of these women organizations go through. This is a new organizations, and then there's no funding. Or it is an old organization, and here in the middle there was no funding with all the crises that we have. And then here the partner comes, tells you, give us an audit, 3-year audit, and then with an recommendation from your past donors. Where do you get those donors? These are some of the challenges. Then we have the issue of donor language. As my sister Aria has said, we have the donor language. And I'm happy Aria is here. She also has to come out and also give us some tips of the donor languages, which the donor needs. You write a proposal, and then the donor will say, no, this is not like this. We need to put like this, and we need to put like this. And let me tell you one thing. We also fail on our side. We don't read. We don't read the instructions. We fail in writing proposals. The proposals need to be written consistently. You assume this donor does not know you. I know Aria personally, I know Margaret personally, I know Mama Modi personally, and she has sent out letters of interest. Now, I will assume she knows me, she knows my organization. I'll just write, pack things, and throw it to her. This is wrong. I have to go through the portal and read the questions carefully. And in some of those questions, in some of the portals, there are repeated questions. These questions are boring. I'm telling you, they are boring, but don't take them as they are boring. The donor wanted to see your consistency in writing. Don't assume that this donor knows you. Mama Modi is a good friend. She's a donor. When she sees what are you doing, I do SGBV in Lake State, in these Payams, in these counties, then goes another question. After finishing, then the second question will recur. Then you will write with Our Ladiness as above. Who knows the above? We only know above is in the skies. So this donor will get tired. The donor will not have time to read it. When the donor sees as above, she say, these are too much serious. We'll put it down. So I will ask my women-led organizations, my colleagues, that we have to read. We have to follow instructions. If we don't follow the instructions and be consistency in our answering the questions, then we will not lead anywhere. Then the other little mistake, I call it foolish mistake, is grammar. When you are listing the activities you want to do, you have to put it in the past tense, not now, or past participle tense. English is running away. So if we say that we have done, the donor will think that this is a copy and paste of something that has been done long time ago that you are bringing it here, and this is a new project. So in these projects, I'll strongly insist that we have to read. We read the instructions very carefully. This is where we fail. I once fell a victim. The other stupid mistake, I'll call them stupid because it is our own making, is we don't beat deadlines. We just see, we assume, we just write when we see remaining 3 days, we just write, we don't check the budget and we don't check the spellings, the grammar, the activities, the vision, the mission. We just take and dump, we cut and paste. In our previous proposals, we cut and paste, and sometimes the heading is different, and then you come and find in the middle something else that is different. That is also a challenge that we go through. So you see what we are, women organizations are going through. So I will kindly ask that whenever such thing comes, let us have a culture of reading. Let us go through it one by one. If you don't have, we have our experts. Margaret is there. We have so many. We call ourselves pool of experts. They are there. You just call. Don't be afraid. Mafi fadia lena. You want to succeed, mafi fadia. Lota fadia. Ilo mara ndo fadia mabwele zato. So on Monday, you call, say, my sister, I have this problem. Can you please take me through this? They will say they will help you because you are helping the nation. Who will come and hold your hand if you cannot ask for assistance? You will drown in the middle. So these are some of the problems and challenges that are hindering these women getting funding from partners.
Thank you so much, Mama Zahra. These are really powerful statements that we all need to learn from, because sometimes we ignore the culture of reading, and reading is very important. And for you to be professional, you also need to know the donor's language. And thank you so much for explaining more on this issue, and also for giving us a little background about how organizations were before independence, like they used to be mentored, and for highlighting the gap of mentorship. And I want to move to Modi Baraza again. And I want to go back to a statement that was mentioned earlier by Mama Zahra, that there are some women-led organizations that can be categorized as briefcase. So do you agree with such? And I want you to also highlight to us that there is a claim that most donors in South Sudan, they claim that women-led organizations do not have the capacity to manage funding or write proposals, and they are mostly briefcase organizations. So, Ms. Modi, do you agree with this statement? Over to you.
Partially, I agree, but to some extent, it depends on the organization, which of course is there. First of all, some donors kind of like treat other organizations based on their past experience, and then they put all organizations in the same category without knowing that different organizations are like that. For sure, other women organizations could exist only for 2 to 3 months without, they come very powerful, and then suddenly you see that they are just scattered and then vanished, and then you can never see them again. I've seen so many experiences in that area whereby women organization that is started and then they just vanish, and then you cannot see them anymore. And then they could talk about the vision and then the vision, and they have all nice things that is put in place. But I don't understand what is happening, and then that they just disappear with that. But in other hand also, I disagree that not all women organizations are briefcase organizations. What we need to do here is like, one, donors should do organization capacity assessment. Whenever they want to deliver kind of support or funding to organization, women rights organization, what they need to do is like to carry on organization capacity assessment. This will show to them that this organization, these are the weak points, these are the strengths, this is where we need to build the capacity. Because I cannot tell you that all women organizations are perfectly like any international organization. No, these are emerging organizations, and then they are learning they're in the process of learning and then building their capacity. They need more mentorship. As a result, I just want to comment that as we started YWCA, you find out that people who really back us up, some of the organization just vanished because they came, they didn't know our capacity, and then they gave us funding, small funding, and then we did not know how to do the proper accountability. And then the conclusion was like, YWCA can never do it. They are not good. Their financial system is not good. Without coming to us and assess and help us to be able to build our capacity. Thank God for Democracy International, who actually took initiative to actually come down to us and then start building our capacity. You should develop your policy, financial policy, you need to have HR policy, you need to have this one. And then together we jointly work on our policies and then make us strong now to move ahead. So when you start now in terms of mentorship to women organization, this will build their capacity so that they can stand strong. But now, if you just come and they said raw material and then it is there, we just give you funding and then after disappearing, and then you start blaming all organizations, it won't work well. So that is one thing. It needs more mentorship. Secondly, is like if they say they are briefcase organization, before you give out funding, you need to go and see the organization. Do they have an office? If they don't have office, where are they operating? So this is the area also that some of the partners of fund of donors are doing the mistake. Because now, if you need to really to give funding, you need to give to a organization that is sustainable, and then you can be able to locate them at any time that you need to follow up on your activity when they are carrying out activity. And then also, you need to support them in areas of weakness. Where they are weak, you need to empower them there and then give them training. So this Democracy International gave us a lot of training, and then also some of our partners also gave us a lot of trainings in all the areas that they saw we are weak in. And then that's why I can stand firm and they say we are capable of handling donor money. And then third point also that I want to do is like sometimes like what Mama Zara was saying, some donor call for proposal is like a very complicated thing that some of the women organizations cannot really cannot achieve. They put a standard of international organization like for instance like the UN. You cannot compare the civil society organization, the national organization, to beat the same standard of the UN, because they have their different ways of approach. So let them at least simplify a kind of a format that can be accessible and then easy for the women rights organization to at least apply and express themselves in interest of doing that project. And then secondly, thirdly, or fourth, is like when it's like they come with their own interest. They are not going down to assess what are the needs. The needs assessment is not done in the community or in the organization, because we work directly with the community. At least we need to do need assessment. But some donors will say, we are supporting this, we are not supporting this. We are supporting this, we are not supporting this. Now, we know our priority. Why don't you come and we sit together, and then you help us to identify all our priorities, and then we work according to it. So these are the challenges that sometimes that is the blame that are always coming to women's rights organization. And then you need to support the women to know how to account for donor money, because accountability is the major thing that is hindering most of the organizations to access funding. Because sometimes if you don't know the procedure, then sometimes it will be very difficult for them to account. I remember way back when we were still very young, we just correct the receipt and whatever. We didn't know that they need a backup of document that needs to make sure that this thing is accurate. So with the support from partners, we have been able to do what? To put our financial system in place. So we need to support this organization who are struggling, not always bring forth them like if all organizations in South Sudan are not accurate in whatever they are doing. Thank you.
This is Susan, but I haven't had the question. I guess it's directed. Okay. I guess it's my turn, though. It's really sounding low. Yes. Can I move on? Okay. Thank you, Margaret, once again, for this beautiful guiding question. Just like Mama Zahra highlighted and Mama Modi, and I think some of the mistakes that the women-led organization make in terms of, limiting them to accessing funding from different resource providers, not different from what my colleagues highlighted, but I just wanted to reinforce on that. Um, of course, there's one key issue to do with the prioritization, like being focused. Like you find that one specific organization or some of the organization, the women-led organization, have too many priorities, and placing, like in terms of responding to the call, becomes so challenging in terms of, technically placing themselves to respond to specific call. So that also is an aspect that needs to be reinforced, that limits their ability to accessing resources. And then also one challenge throughout the experience, engaging with this different women-led organization, is of course the aspect of responding to these calls and not also meeting the deadline. For example, a call has been posted and you find that they take long, a specific group or some of the organization, they take long to read, as one of my colleagues said, it's not our culture, to read, understand the terms of reference from that particular resource provider is very, very important. So we have these elements of organization waiting until the last minute and just maybe trying to copy and paste from somewhere, because I also happen to be part of the panel in terms of the review. Sometimes when a call is posted, you receive like thousands of applications because of the funding gap. Every organization would like to really reach out in terms of application submission, but doesn't come specifically to meet the deadline. And that is also a problem that you find some organizations get missed out of this funding opportunity. And then another area of concern is also the fact that there is a limited kind of commitment. Maybe let me say leadership commitment. There's a lot of noise from the background. Limited commitment or in terms of leadership, maybe like the board, because some of these organizations have the board of directors, and these are better placed in terms of assisting the management to respond to these external calls in terms of placing them in a better, placing them in a position of, understanding the call, read it through, see the donor priority, see the objectives in the RFA for you to be able to respond as an organization. And also the language. Sometimes some funding guidelines are given with specific, like you see instruction, the specific instruction under each main section just to guide. And others also, after these calls are posted, that particular organization or some of the funding agencies also have a system in place where staffs are sent out to the field and information sessions are conducted in order to create a lot of awareness for these applicants to understand what are the requirements of the calls, what are the donor expectations, and what are your own expectations also in terms of responses. So by so doing, you're better placed as an organization to respond. Another area also that we've realized is that some of these calls are posted in specific formats. They say, respond to this, the duration is from this to this. And we've also given like 1 week for you to be able to inquire. There is a specific link that always is provided for you to inquire, maybe ask question and get clarity from that specific funding organization. And then at the end, you receive an application in a different format, maybe just 2-page. So like an element of being careless and paying attention to details for you to position yourself, because it's so competitive. The funding gap is growing in the country. And for you to respond as a specific women-led organization, you need to read widely, understand the terms of reference, and be able to respond. And there's one important thing in resource mobilization, one of the key principles that says, for you to be able to retain funding or to sustainably mobilize resources, you need to invest a lot of energy, put your level of commitment, and also spend some little resources. And this is why from time to time, we encourage this growing organization to be able to do little fundraising within their community, do some kind of assessment within the organization and see, do you have specific people that can be able to, do maybe a little bit of consultancy, or what are these local fundraising initiatives that you can do to support you? Or like my colleague said, you can be able to reach out to technical people to support you respond. Others may have resources to outsource consultants to support them respond to specific funding. Because I know that some of the funding guidelines are tough, like one of my colleagues said, it is true. And this is also something that the funding community should know, that based on the explanation I gave before, in terms of the assessment and categories, not every organization can be able to respond to specific guidelines. So there should be also some kind of consideration in terms of developing the terms of reference, especially if you're targeting which kind of, which category of group. Is it just the community groups? Are these loose coalitions or networks that are not maybe registered or registered and do not have clear established systems in place? Or are they, are these organizations already registered and functioning, have past a history of activities, probably being supported by other donors? So all these things also should be considered. So another issue that I've noted throughout my engagement is also the issue of, like presenting your concept not aligning to the objective of the donor in the request for application or proposal. So this brings us back to the cycle of, to the issue of understanding first. If you understand, it's easy for you to respond. And also the issue of capacity, of course, this is something we cannot rule it out. It is always there. But yes, organizations are growing and they have to respond with a specific need, as long as you know that it is within your mandate. For example, we've come across when we're reviewing some of these proposals, you see a particular funding agency saying, we need to fund maybe women rights organization from only Equatoria or Western Baragazal. But because you're also tasked to mobilize, you kind of like, there's a huge need for your respective organization to mobilize resources, just by the fact that you've seen the funding information, a request for proposal, you just sit down with your team and then respond. So this is also a mistake that has been happening, that you receive proposal from a region which is not under the geographical coverage of this specific funding agency. So this is why we're saying, for this organization to be better placed, they need to understand the request from their donors and know, for example, in terms of the state, which state are they going to focus on? What, for example, is the mandate? Does it fall within your mandate of the organization? Does it fall within the strategic priorities of your organization? For example, if a women-led organization is not doing health, you should not be able to respond to that. align your concept to your key priorities in the strategic plan. And that is also where we make mistake, where the women-led organization miss some of this important funding information. And then I talked about the cut and paste, that sometimes you read, as you read, definitely you will know that this application, people have not given their efforts or commitment in terms of responding. So we are saying to move forward and also encourage some of these women-led organizations to really move out from that cycle is that proposal development or resource mobilization requires a kind of like a teamwork, collective efforts. So in that case, if you receive a call, sit first with your executive director, should go through, understand it, and involve all the members of your organization. Because maybe also the cleaner has a right to add her voice because of the detergents that she uses. The procurement people know what they need. The program people, of course, you're the custodian of the concept development, and then the finance also come in. And the board should also be able to review before the submission deadline is made. So the review process, every person within the organization has a responsibility and part to take in terms of coming with a comprehensive proposal to be posted out to the donors. And most importantly, meeting the deadline is very, very important. So these are the few points that I would like to share. I know there are a lot of these kind of mistakes that happen. And also, it's not only with the women-led, but also with the funding agencies in terms of simplifying the language, in terms of, tailor-making, ensure that whatever you need, the expectation will be met. And these are the category of people that you wanted to, bring on board. And also, there is a very important aspect during the grants making. That's why Mama Modi was highlighting before in terms of allocating based on the capacity assessment. If you are a funding agency and you want to look out for these women-led to be supported, there's what we call the due diligence. Of course, after posting, you've gone through, receive, evaluate, you'll do due diligence to know whether they exist and what are their capacity needs or gaps that needs to be addressed, so that as you come in, you know the expectation and they also be able to respond on time. Yeah, basically. So it cuts across. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Susan, for your technical inputs. We are hearing a lot now about technical terms, due diligence, and many of these technical terms that are really part of today's life when we are dealing with partners, when we are dealing with proposal writing, and when your organization is being assessed. So thank you very much, and we are very proud to have somebody like you, a South Sudanese, to have these technicalities. And you came up with a very important issue, the issue of cut and paste. I think personally, also from experience, sometimes some of our organizations, they seek services from some consultants. And maybe that same consultant is being used by another organization. And so the work will, of course, look similar. And some organizations will go through maybe proposals of other organizations from maybe the year 2015, and they will use the same modality to use for applying for the same proposal. And you have mentioned that donors knows the organizations. Sometimes some donors, when they're doing the review of the proposal that has been submitted, sometimes, for example, let's say the proposal is submitted by Young Women Christian Association. When you're reading through, you will see a name of another organization in the narrative. Of course, they will know this is a cut and paste, right? So it's important for us, even when before you submit, you also read through what you are submitting, because sometimes there are a lot of mistakes, and this one can bring even a reading fatigue for some of the people who are doing the review, because our sister mentioned sometimes you can have more than 1,000 applications brought, and you are maybe 5 people reviewing these 500 proposals. So this is small mistake can lead to your proposal being kept aside because it's not consistent. It's not, we cannot read through. So I just want to move quickly because of time to Rose again. Rose, I hope you will hear me this time. You want to understand also, many people tend to accuse the donors, as mentioned earlier, and the government for being corrupt and using favors to award funding for organizations in South Sudan. Do you agree with this statement? You please explain why some of these women are getting very frustrated and discouraged from applying for funding. Mama Zahra, I'll come back to you. There are also some comments in the Facebook that I'll come back to you for. Welcome, Rose. We cannot hear you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Margaret. I would say I agree with the question, but it is going to be slightly a little bit in a different context. Yes, um, there is accusation actually that is happening, but to me and with other process that I have seen and I have gone through, the accusation is not going directly to the donors who are actually behind, let's say international donors. The accusation goes to the grant managers. The grant managers have some things that are not working well. One of the things is most of the grant managers have actually created and registered their own organizations. And they will only wait for the best proposal that is written, proposals that are all its content, and they will use that proposal to give it to the organization, and you find yourself, most of the organizations are knocked out. I would really say, for sure, it is not all women-led organizations that don't have capacity. It doesn't look like that. At least there must be 2 to 3 or 4 women-led organizations that have the capacity. They must have a good consultant that has the donor perception and all that. You find it is all women that are, applied for that funding are the ones that are not out. Do you want to tell me that all of them do not have capacity? No. Coming to the other point is also the delay of the deadline. Sometimes some international NGOs or funders delay the proposal time, and then they will only send it out maybe 2 to 3 days. And of course, when you send it out now in 2 or 3 days, what will someone do for sure? Even if someone is hardworking and you have a technical person, it's still those times, like 3 days or 2 days, are not enough connecting. So it is also happening like that. And you find it is actually grant managers that play those games in order to put in those kind of activities. Maybe saying later on, you delay, you do not actually submit your proposal in time. Then the other one is women are frustrated simply because they try their best to really do what they can, but sometimes due to these other challenges that are given to them, they get frustrated. And getting frustration is always depending on other people, Even the board members sometimes, by the way, to be honest, they are not all board members that can support. Because everybody is kind of maybe struggling and so on. So if you as a leader and the founder of that organization do not have any kind of, a brave heart and also consistency, you'll find yourself actually going to D01. Because you will be asked to actually show your office face and you do not have, you will be asked to actually provide a registration certificate that needs to be updated. Even in NGO forums, you will be asked, but all these are money. So sometimes people can actually, including myself, we can get frustrated for that matter. Then the other thing is that, trying to get to write a proposal. It is always very important. If your proposal is received, at least you be notified that we have received your application and it is under processing. It shows that kind of respect. And you feel, even if you don't make it this time, next time there is always a reserve book. So you will always be supported. But this one goes completely. completely. You don't even get the feedback whether they have received the application. You don't actually know whether you have gone through the email or what. You really, and it has not actually bounced back. If the email is wrong, then it might bounce back. But here, it doesn't actually show. So this increased the frustration actually, and it is not a good sign of actually supporting women-led organizations. And I think this is how I feel that women can to frustrate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Rose Ashendal. I have a follow-up question, Rose. Your organization is still new, but it's doing well and able to get some funding from some donors. Can you kindly share your experience and give our women some tips that can help them to get funding? Do you agree that the networking is very important? Because this is one of the things that are coming up also as concerns. So on the networking, especially that maybe some women organization, they don't work together. So can you give us some of your ideas on this kind of thing? Over to you
Okay, thank
again,
you
Rose.
very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I would really feel that most of the important points were set out before, but I will just put a quick one. For me, since the founding date or the year of Lawansi, I have been so persistent. That is something I would really say me and my team have been doing, and more especially myself, because I had a dream and vision that I should deliver the services in any small way, in any little way. I can even walk into the community. I can go to the orphanage cooking. I can donate my little food that I eat, and then I go. So I have been so persistent that I refuse to go and look for a job because I know I'm qualified. If I go, I go back. But I felt, should I go, it will, this organization will die. Then the other one is resilience. When you are always resilient, even God will always look at you and say, this person has been so resilient, so uh, God will turn his face to you and you'll be able to get that. Then the other one is networking, in which I will later on highlight. It is very important. I don't actually leave other parts feeling that if I go this part, I will not get anything, and then I just undermine. What I do, I even connect with my other women-led organizations and even youth organizations. And I ask, look, how do you go about it? And if the person is a good-hearted person or good Samaritan, they would always, based on the approach that you make, you will always find that they will actually give you way forward or succeed. So I've been doing that. And I would say, yes, networking is very important in a way that it is the one that connected us actually. As my sister said earlier on, that you have to know within the network. And South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum is actually doing this. You have to see the areas of expertise, those that are experts in proposal writing, those that are good in gender-based violence, those that are good in entrepreneurship training, and so on, hygienic health, and so on. And then you will be able now to ask a volunteer. And if that person or your sister knows the importance of team working and supporting each other, I am able to actually get that person on board, and I will find what I'm supposed to do is going to be done. The only thing is the ignorance that I said earlier on. If you are ignorant and you feel that you are going to die alone, dying alone is a very good thing. You have to die together. And by tying your pedicles together, you will always find that you actually come with a common expectation. Then, networking is very important because it uplifts each other. It can uplift you. Because if I don't know how to write a proposal, I have ideas here. I can design my ideas properly. Then I can maybe run to someone whom I know will actually support my ideas. And in that way, we will actually uplift each other. It will only be very desperate or frustrating if people run away from you. Or some of us, maybe some people, they do not know actually to support others. They want you to do the things alone so that they are praised and they are seen, they are very strong and so on. So to me, it is very important that we may work together. Because whoever you know as Margaret, me, I don't know. And I can use you to actually approach to that person. And these are the insights here. You do approach someone, say, my dear, I know you are close to so and so. Can you just connect me? There is nothing wrong. You introduce me to that person, and then you go and present yourself. Presentation and approach matters. So this is how I actually ending up at least getting some support, and I'm still doing more, and I don't close my door for sure. Even my little space. If someone is looking for the space, I cannot really deny you not to have a space with me. You can stay even as 10, as 15, as 20 as women-led organizations because we are doing one thing as a common agenda. So this is how I've been actually carrying on, and I'm still pushing like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rose. I would like to move to Mama Zahra. Mama Zahra, there is a point for you from one of our online viewers, and her name is Editha. She's saying that the challenges are mostly funding, and Mama Zahra, we are functioning, but you don't reach out to our organization. We are based in Bill Farm Road, opposite Medan Rambo. I encourage you maybe to reach out later to this viewer because we may not get the full name of her organization, the organization that she's talking about. But what is your view on that? Do you access organizations here also in the national level, or you are only dealing with organization at the grassroots? Mama Zahra?
Thank you, my sister from Bill Farm Road. We do organize women to women-led organizations within Juba and outside Juba. If you are free, you can get me on my WhatsApp, on our WhatsApp group, Women-Led Organizations of South Sudan. Then from there we can kick off. The other challenge I forgot to say about women-led organization not getting funding is about budgeting. And I was expecting my sister, the expert from the NGO world, to tell us when we are budgeting on some items, we miss out, and it is very challenging. You will see that we have so many activities and the budget is ceiling. And then when you are trying to play with the figures, sometimes you end up forgetting yourselves. All the money has gone to activity or all the money has gone to something else. These are some of these challenges that we undergo. And I would like to encourage the other viewers who are viewing us from far and wide that we have, as we women-led organizations in South Sudan, not just women-led organizations, we women of South Sudan have capacity. 15 years down the line, we have been training, capacity building. Where do you think all this training have gone? They still stick back to our minds. It is a matter of us coming together. We look for each other and see where have we gone wrong and what can we do better. We look at the SWOT analysis and look at the opportunities, the strengths we have, so that we use our strengths to strengthen others and use the opportunities also to share the opportunities. And the threats, we turn the threats into opportunities and strength. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mama Zahra. We are almost coming to the end of our discussion, but I want to go back to our sister Modi Baraza. And we are seeking your advice, our sister Modi Baraza, because your organization is one of the organizations that are expanding. So we are seeking your advice. You give the South Sudanese women-led organization. The advice is, what advice can you give them so that they can get more funding and expand? And what tips can you give them also, especially like how to maintain their organizations so that they don't drop like the experience of some of the organizations?
Thank you so much, Margaret. For the interest of time, some of the recommendation I'll come with is some of the advice is like this women rights organization, they really need to start thinking working on in a consortium. Now, what I mean by consortium is like they are stronger women organization, and then what they can do is like annex with them and then combine a proposal, a development, and then submit. And then when they submit, they can be able to learn from from the stronger organization, how their things are being done. But when they work in isolation, or maybe they want the project to be for themselves alone, they may not be able to learn and they may not be able to progress. So I encourage all women rights organizations who are struggling for funding, at least to work to develop a proposal that is in a consortium. That's number one. Number two, they can be able to maybe exchange kind of stuff. If you know that this organization, women rights organization, is having a stronger human resource system, why don't you send your human resource person so that they can learn how things are run in that organization, and then maybe for 1 month or two, then they'll come back and implement it in their own organization. Likewise, for financial operations, we can learn from one another. So there they can be able to start strong based on the skills that they have acquired from each other. And then all women organizations need to ensure proper financial accountability. Even if the funding is, for instance, 1,000, you really need to make sure that you account for that money in a proper way. That will pave way for the donors to at least open for you opportunity to be able to get more funding. If you don't account for a smaller one, they don't have the perception that if you cannot account for 1,000, how will you be able to account for 10,000 if at all they give you that 10,000? So accountability part of it is really very crucial for us as women rights organizations. And then sadly and lastly is like we need to go for like smaller funding. Some organizations need to look at bigger funding, like maybe over $200,000 or so and so, without neglecting that the smaller one is what you can start up with, and then you can go now for the bigger funding. Because now, if you start with a bigger funding and you say, this one is only just 5,000, why are we wasting our time on that? Then you are not going to get any funding, because you start with a smaller, that will enable you to get a bigger one. So that is my advice to the women's rights organization who are still not having opportunity to get funding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. This is a very powerful statement and powerful advice to us. It takes me to this thing of a journey of 1,000 miles to start with a step. And this advice that you're saying, that women-led organizations need not to shy from starting small and then move to bigger funding. I think this advice is in place, because if you cannot manage 5,000, then you cannot manage 50. If you cannot manage 50, then you cannot manage 200. Thank you very much for this insight. So now we come to the last question, which I'm going to give to all the panelists. As mentioned earlier, the topic of today is South Sudanese women-led organization, challenges and opportunities. We talked a lot about challenges. I want to hear from you now. What are the opportunities that you think are present now for women-led organizations, and what are your recommendations for the way forward? So we'll start with Mama Zahra. What are the opportunities and the way forward?
Thank you. We have opportunities that we work and we deliver services to our community. The other opportunities as we have attached ourselves to the grassroots, and we work in line with the both state and national government, with other institutions as all. We also have opportunity of meeting partners, the so-called partners, both inside South Sudan and outside South Sudan. We also have capacity, not so much capacity, but we have capacity to stand on our own. And then the recommendation is that I would like, first of all, to ask these women-led organizations, the cadres of women organizations, those ones of before, they know themselves, I don't want to mention them. Let us mentor these young organizations. Let us give them pathway and let us be smart. See, the word smart in proposal writing have to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound for our organizations to prosper. And let us also be consistency in our organization. Let us be consistency. Like if we have this organization working in one area, let us move to another area to show our consistency in working with little money that we have. We women, we can do it. Why can't we not do it? If we can have merry-go-round, why can't we also give that small money to sustain our organization? Sustainability is key. Let us also help and sustain our organization. Let us network, as my sister Adele has said, and Mama Modi. Let us network. Networking is key. If you don't network, you lose. Sometimes you lose. You hear this organization like we have funding in human rights. I don't do human rights. Then you ask the others. We form consortiums and ask anyone, all women-led organizations to join the consortiums, not just because of fun, just to build ourselves and build our organization. In that consortium, when we come together, we'll give ourselves capacity. I'm weak in budgeting. I have an expert who will help us in budgeting. We give ourselves sessions. I had an opportunity to have an exchange program in one of women-led organizations in one of the African countries. Wallahi, they have done it marvelously. I didn't even want to leave that country, but home is home. What they do, they sit down, they look at your weaknesses, and they turn that weaknesses into opportunities within themselves. And they don't just leave you, they hold your hand. They say, this time we want to make sure that you get funding. Who is your target? Where are you sourcing your fund? You are sourcing our fund from within or from far. They sit down, they give capacity to that organization, and the organization moves, and they don't leave. They mentor others, they continue like that. So if we do that, let us give it a try in South Sudan. I know our women in South Sudan are very busy. Some are ignorant, some are traumatized, but let us not put trauma in us. Let us heal. We are in the healing process. Let us heal and move out of trauma and forge way forward to see a betterment of South Sudan. And all women are powerful. No woman is weak. If a woman is weak, we here speaking now couldn't have been in this panel speaking. It's because of our mothers who never went to school. So credit to all women. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mama Zahra. You are a blessing to this discussion because of your experiences, not only here in South Sudan, but also in the region. And thank you for sharing the experience of the organization that you mentioned. I move to Modin Baraza with the same question. What are the opportunities that you are seeing for South Sudanese women-led organizations, and what are your recommendations for the way forward?
Thank you so much. Sorry. I was muted. Thank you so much. What I'm saying is like women rights organization, South Sudan Women Rights Organization are actually the beneficiaries themselves. If there's any international organization that needs to support programs and then project implementation, then they have to go through the women's rights organization, which your caucus is already existing, because they are the beneficiaries themselves. So I would say it is a high time for us now, at least to do what to build ourselves, and then come up like what Mama Zara have mentioned, and then at least showcase our talents and then our ability in order to sustain ourselves. That is the opportunity we have. We are based with the people, and then we are legally registered, and then we are established here. Even if funding can finish, still we are based with the community, and they will continue to be there. That is our strength. And then maybe some of the things that maybe one challenge that we are facing, I want to mention only two. One is like a brain drain for the organization. You see that you mentor so many people or talented people, young women, for instance, for our case, and then by the end of the day, you do not have capability, like in terms of salary, to sustain them. You see that these women are going to other bigger organizations to get their bigger funds, and then you start now training more young women so that they can take responsibility. This is a very big challenge that we are facing, and then if there could be other donors who could support our effort in order to support talented young women, and then women who are women's rights organization in sustaining the skilled people, it will be very good, because now you train this one, they are gone. You train another one, they are gone. Then you find out that we are not progressing at all completely. So another challenge also is this issue, like you are dealing with the trainings and the capacity building or whatever, but it irritates somebody when you are doing the training, and then you have to do the security clearance all the time, and then you are denied this access, and then we are just here to build the capacity of young women, and then there's nothing that we are doing. We are based in the community, and then there's nothing that we are doing. It is really a challenge for us. And then my recommendation is donors should prioritize women's rights organization in terms of funding, and then also since they are the beneficiary. That's number one. Number two, donors need to carry out organizational capacity assessment to ascertain what are the weaknesses, the opportunity, and then the threats in women's rights organization, so that they can capitalize on that and build the capacity of women so that they can be self-sustained. And then another one is WROs need to encourage working in a consortium. I still insist in this thing of consortium. If we are working in consortium, we will be very strong. Remember, united we stand, divided we fall. So if you join our skills together, we are able to now build one another. We learn from one another's experience, and then from there we move forward without discrimination and without looking at others like if they are not doing much and then we are the best and whatever. So praising one another will not help us. Support to one another is whatever we can do in order to achieve the goal and then become self-sustained in South Sudan. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Sister Modi. I want to move to Rose Ashendal, and I will leave the last comment to our policy expert, Susan, later. So Rose, over to you. On opportunities and recommendations.
Thank you. What I have here are very few. Thank you once again, Margaret. The first thing that we face actually as a challenge is that there are always favors that are actually asked for us women to provide those favors. I know women will understand this, and they are not the good thing. We women, that we are supposed to be encouraged and be supported, instead of, if you want to support a woman, they have first to know you and all that. Then the other one is the main one. It is called kickback. They are my friends, the brand managers actually, who are doing this exercise. This kickback, when you happen to be chosen or selected, then you will always be whispered that I want you to give this percentage so that you be a permanent organization that will be funded always by this organization. So kickback has been experienced, and some women or women-led organization will actually agree with me. And then the other one is staff leaving national organizations to go and look for jobs in an international organization. You know, sometimes you cannot keep someone for long, and due to our context in South Sudan, you can ask someone to at least volunteer in 2 to 3 months, but it cannot actually be beyond, because the situation is not favoring all of us. And should you keep someone for that long, sometimes is a bit delicate. So we train and we mentor staff, and then later on they are drawn by the international organizations. My recommendation will be, if at all we want to support women-led organizations, we need to form an advisory body. This advisory body will oversee all the funding opportunities that are coming, and they will also see the selection process. Because when you involve the advisory members, they will always know themselves who has received the funding of maybe over 100,000 US dollar. And is that 100,000 for which year? If it is 1 year, then you can really volunteer in your heart and give a chance to the other sister who have not completely received anything. But this one can only be done by the advisory, because if you leave it to only grant managers alone and their donors, they will only select where they have the conflict of interest, and you will always find out. You will always find that the real woman-led organization or women-led organizations that are supposed to do the work, or those are really doing the great work at the grassroots level, are left out. Then the other one is, it will be good also for women-led organizations to have their own independent network. There is NGO forum, and I feel NGO forum is not doing much, because you can register in an NGO forum. At first it was $50, and then now it is $100. Assume you have not received any funding, even $500 you did not receive from any donor, and you are asked to always renew your NGO forum certificate every year. How will you feel? How will you really feel? So if women have their own network, it can just be slightly like NGO forum, but because they will know themselves, and they will not actually know who is doing what and what is the capacity of this one. So if they are given this, they would always, and they will be the one actually to recommend, because funding opportunities are always network. You may find all these international NGOs, we know most of them, and they would always refer to these other members. Then the other one is, we need to support each other as women. And I think many friends, colleagues have really emphasized on that, which is very important. We need to emphasize on supporting each other instead of only dying alone, or you don't want to support your sister. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rose. This is also a powerful statement. We need to support each other. And the issue of having networks or having consortiums have also been brought again. But this time, the recommendation is that women should have their own consortium or their own network, women-led organizations, as one of the way forward. We come finally to Susan. Susan Ariye, as our expert and our technical person, can you tell us the opportunities that are there and the recommendations? We are all listening now. Our ears are open.
Okay, thank you so much, Margaret, once again. I would like to just offer maybe 2 to 3 opportunities and then answer a few recommendations to the women-led organization that will probably help them improve some of the issues that they're already facing in terms of limiting them to access funding. So in terms of the opportunities, I think the fact that they are informed about the contextual issues and they're already doing a lot in terms of creating awareness on women empowerment, the gender equality aspect of it, and the women peace and security, that many donors are now looking out to support such initiatives. So women are better placed in terms of opportunity to get funding, only that there is need for them to be organized at that level. Then another opportunity will be also that I would like to encourage is like effective participation in some of these clusters. For example, some of them, if they are doing gender-based, violence, maybe awareness or programming, they should be able to align and participate in some of these clusters, because there are also some funding opportunities that comes through this participation, so that they are able to create, in terms of creating visibility, because resource mobilization is all about marketing, getting yourself as an organization known, and create your visibility, expand and market. And also in terms of the localization agenda that has been discussed and is ongoing already, that is also a great opportunity because it's through local partnership. And that also places the women in a better position in terms of, accessing funding in the future. And then the third one could be, teaming up into like 2 to 3, 4 organizations with one focus as women-led to be able to respond to specific funding. As long as you're doing the implementation in different geographical area, but your focus should be one. So in that way, you have more collective power and your proposal carries a lot of weight instead of, going sometimes as an individual organization. So that is just a few opportunities that I would like in terms of participation in the cluster, and also in terms of the awareness and raising and promoting the gender equality, the women and peace and security component is very, very important. That is attracting a lot of interest from the resource providers, and also the localization agenda. Of course, it's going gradually, but this is something which is really, really good that will really kind of benefit the women-led organization in the country. Besides their own work, besides their own efforts that is already being exerted in the program or in the initiative of lobbying or seeing that they are able to grow from one stage in terms of attracting also resource providers. In terms of few recommendation, what I would like to emphasize mostly is about donor mapping. This is very, very important. It is very important because it's allow each and every organization to understand that funding agencies. For example, if it is a UN Women, you understand their granting process, you understand the geographical location where they operate, you understand a lot of information, you read a lot, understand what the donor does. So you do this funding, you do your assessment, you get a lot of international organizations and even the embassies together, have these contacts in place, have their website, and then read around, and then you can be able to place your, meetings and strategically meet them and be able to, create your visibility to make yourself known as an active organization in place. Many times the women-led organization miss out opportunities because of visibility. Like they do a lot of good work on the ground, but it's not being documented and published out there for donors to see. And yet there are these donors that are really looking for these vulnerable groups to support in the country. And another important point to raise is about scaling up the internal systems and processes. For example, uh, it's important to have, the resource mobilization system, like you have the resource mobilization policy, you have your strategic planning because it defines you, it tells the direction where the organization is going, and also it defines the strategic priority so that when it comes to resource mobilization, if you have a sector, for example, one of the priorities is education, all the calls that are coming within your mandate, you can be able to respond. If it is health, do not just respond when it's not part of your priority for the organization. So the strategic planning becomes very, very important strategy in place that most donors look for. Also, the financial management system, the human resource, the procurement, and all this, you need to make sure this is scale up. And if it is missing, then there is need to start engaging with your current donors or future donors to say, hey, you can even start to do your own capacity assessment within your locality as an organization, and then present this kind of funding that these are the weaknesses we have and we need capacity development, not only in terms of maybe trainings, but it could be also in terms of resource mobilization, in-kind support. Perhaps they can place a mentor within a specific organization to be able to walk this, the members of the organization through to be able to go to another level. So another important also area of recommendation is that the leadership and board commitment is very, very important to be strengthened because the board of directors plays an effective role in ensuring the sustainability of respective organization. And therefore, it is not only the roles of the executive directors to mobilize resources. There is need to maintain that kind of relationship between the EDs and their board of directors, and also inform them about what is happening within their organization and inform them about some of the funding gaps, so that they both work as a collective team to be able to raise this organization to another level. Another important thing is also strengthening the monitoring and evaluation aspect of the organization. However small the organization is, it is important to allocate responsibility to the program people that are implementing, to be able to ensure that there is documentation from each and every step of the implementation. And finally, the issue of compliance, which is very, very important. And this is something which is really limiting most organizations to succeed, because once you're given like maybe 10,000, 7,000, 5,000, and you're not able to account, definitely you are rated either it is a fraud or lack of capacity. So there is really, really a need for the women-led organization to scale up in terms of ensuring the internal system is checked, and that they have even one document is important. For those organizations at the level of YWCA that have gradually moved forward, of course, they could be having such audit, finding, and they work on the recommendation. And these are also important documents that donors really wanted to know about the strength and the weaknesses of the organization. And finally, in terms of encouraging all the entire teams of each and every organization to ensure that proposal development is a collective responsibility, and that when you want to respond, you should respond from an informed perspective or point of view, in that make sure you understand the guidelines and respond accordingly. Your objective should align to the call objective, and also ensure that you present your document and it's logically flowing, because you're informed about your context already, the information that you're giving. And always
Susan, we cannot hear you. You have dropped.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Just finalize, please.
Yes, for the interest of time. So I was still taking you back to one of the recommendations, just to encourage the women-led in terms of responding to calls, to be able to pay attention to budget limitation. For example, there are specifications that are met in each and every organization that send out these calls. They have different guidelines. So pay attention and make sure that sometimes they say the budget is between 40 to 50, and work between. And make sure also, like one of the colleagues highlighted earlier on, you don't leave yourself out. You need to factor the personnel cost, the admin, and general activities. And finally, in terms of demonstrating the capability of a particular organization applying for funding, it is always good, because I said, and I want to emphasize again, that this is a very, very important skill that is required in terms of resource mobilization. Demonstrate your capacity as an applicant, that I have the competent human resource to be able to implement this project that we are applying for. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan, and to all the panelists. You have mentioned a lot of information. You have shared the challenges with total honesty, which I appreciate, and I'm sure the management of the South Sudanese Human Intellectual Forum also appreciate. And we also thank you for highlighting the opportunities which are existing for women-led organizations, and for your recommendations. In summary, I would like to mention the main points of this discussion to be as follows. There are a number of points which serves as lessons for development institutions who seek to lend support to women-led organizations. There is also a number of points that serves as lessons for women-led organizations, and also for our leaders who are there, like the government and other women leaders who are part of this women-led organization, but are now in the other side of policy making. This discussion highlighted the increased effectiveness of women-led organizations, the need to allow the organization also to set their own agendas, It also provided institutional support. Institutional support was also highlighted as necessary, using this proximity to ensure that such organizations were sufficiently grounded in and representative of their core constituencies. That means like the organizations, for them to move forward and for them to be sustainable, the ideas should come from consultations. And then also networking was stressed as very important, and working in consortiums was also mentioned as very important. Mentorship has also been highlighted as necessary and important. And I would like also to take this opportunity to recognize the importance of the existing networking for women-led organizations, and encourage more networking to be established. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of those who join us online, who dropped some comments. I've seen some recommendations also online, because for the sake of time, I wouldn't be reading all of them, but I encourage the panelists to go through those recommendations. And I also encourage the management of South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum to use this information and put them as a policy paper that can be shared with other organizations, because this is a very rich discussion. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a great interest from many organizations to support women-led organizations. So finally, I would like to appreciate the South Sudanese Women Intellectual Forum for giving me this opportunity to moderate the discussion. I would like to thank the energetic panelists for their work. Excellent. And thank you so much, and have a good evening. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.